Deal with this onion act anyway.
water. Can you cover me?
I hope you're alright, Mr. Miller.
Here.
Hi.
Oh, after you.
What's up?
Please insert token. Please insert token.
Chief, I'm
Please
just going to the
insert
bathroom.
token. Hello. You've reached the Lost Property Office. There's nobody available to take your call at the moment. For any inquiries, visit Gemma Hughes in room 103 on floor 1. Alternatively, if you know which locker your possessions are in, please bring the relevant access card. Thank you.
Harvey, I've been going through more of Alex's interview tapes. I found something quite alarming that seems to have been very quickly dismissed. He says his keycard was stolen earlier on the day of the explosion. He said he tried to log it with Carla Berman. I'm not sure how frequently she leaves her office, but if you can somehow gain access, you may be able to find evidence linking her to Alex's keycard.
Steve, there's been an alarm set off. Can you go check it out?
Hey, Mr. Miller, an alarm was set off earlier on. I know you probably had nothing to do with it, but just remember to stay in the allocated areas to avoid trouble.
Please enter PIN. Hiya, Harvey. Please enter PIN. Code denied.
What is it this time? Hey, Mr. Miller, I know you probably don't know anything about this, but something happened in one of the out-of-bounds areas earlier on. So if you could just stay in the allocated areas, just for your safety, that would be great. Thanks.
Steve, I'm leaving my desk for 15 minutes now.
Mr. Miller, you really shouldn't be in here. This room is off limits. Please, leave.
I'll let you know.
Mr. Miller, seriously, you need to leave now.
Why are you here? Mr. Miller, there's a lot of sensitive information in here. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt this time, but in the future, please, just stay out. Hello?
Hello. You all right, Mr. Miller? Hi, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Miller? Come on, Mr. Miller, out. Oh, Mr. Miller, if you don't leave, then I'm going to have to call security. Hello, Mr. Miller.
Yes, thank you. We're currently circling above the Roman Park facility, and I can tell you that the atmosphere is tense. Whatever your political view, whatever your upbringing, people all over the country have come here to show that their voices will be heard.
Everything dated the 10th of the 4th, 1987, the day of the attack, has been boxed and archived and still needs reviewing. The phone records were particularly interesting to me. I've looked through about 20% of all the files I've collated as of yet, and I'm not sure exactly how much more I'm going to find. I'm certain I'm onto something big, but I fear it's going to take me a lot longer than I have to find what I need. So can you please state your name for the recording?
Yes, Scarlett Carson.
Again, thank you for coming in. Hopefully we can clear a few things up.
Have you spoken to Charles Bowman yet?
No, he's quite hard to pin down, but we will be, I assure you. Is there something I should ask him when I do?
No, I was just curious as to what he may have told you about me.
Is there something you need to tell me?
It doesn't matter. I'm sorry, you have questions, I'm sure.
Mrs. Carson, please try not to worry. Your words count on their own merits, so just try to be honest and this will go fine. Well, I suppose a good place to start is with Alex Dubois.
Yes.
Could you please tell me about the last time you spoke with him?
Sure. The last time we spoke was in my office at the Bowman Carson facility.
And what was the nature of this conversation?
It was about his family. They'd been detained in our Dover facility and were awaiting deportation. I think he'd been to see Charles. Sorry, that's Charles Bowman. Charles had told Mr. Dubois that he would have to appeal for his family's return with the relevant paperwork.
And how would you say Mr. Dubois was handling that information?
Well, obviously he was devastated, but it's much worse than that.
Harvey, I just received an anonymous fax. Do you know where the Turing meeting room is? It seems as though Alex Dubois may have hidden some information in there which proves the Bowman Carson Group are intentionally inflating figures based around the Union Act. If you're able to find the evidence, it may help inform the public about what the truth is here. I'm sure Carla Berman may have a thing or two to say about those figures, since she's the one spreading them in her print media. Anyway, let me know what you find.
be alright.
Hey, Mr. Miller.
Mr. Miller, quick reminder. You have a meeting in 5 minutes.
Floppy disk detected. Attention, floppy disk corrupted. Use Data Doctor to amend corrupted disks.
Oh, Calvin, out of here.
Floppy disk detected. Please enter PIN. Code accepted. Access granted.
Sir, what are you doing?
I'm still gonna catch you, Mr. Miller. Why does he never listen to me? I keep telling him to stay out of these areas.
Floppy disk detected. No floppy disks detected. Floppy disk detected.
Mr. Miller, don't forget you have a meeting soon.
Looking sharp, Mr. Miller.
Hello, Mr. Miller. Please come in and take a seat. So I gather you've got some questions you'd like to ask me. I'll do my best to answer them. Shall we begin? He thinks I'm lying. That's not really news, Mr. Miller. I think anyone in the country could have told you what Alex thinks about what we do here. He has a twisted view of things. Out of curiosity, what is it he thinks is so bad about the act? Well, this is getting far-fetched, and I suppose I'm the one lying to the country. Don't answer that. I'm sorry, but I have to deal with this kind of accusation day in and day out. I guess it's an occupational necessity. No, and I don't suppose you will. The Union Act is a force for good, Mr. Miller, a force for peace and also ownership of our country. Is it going to please everybody? No, but in all honesty, what could? The protesters out there are chasing an impossible dream and they're lining up in droves to blame everyone else for its shortcomings. But let me ask you this. You've been here all morning. Do you think we're the bad guys? Exactly. And I can't think of anything that would. Listening to Alex talk must have been convincing, I'm sure, but when you're confronted with the overwhelming evidence here at the facility, well, I'm just glad you get to see things firsthand. Look, when you're dealing with a group, you have to represent them as a whole. There may be some shining examples of success out there, but it would be a lie for us to misrepresent all the ones causing the bigger problems. I shouldn't have asked you. It was unfair. You clearly don't understand the inner workings of what we do here. And that's admirable. I understand you have a job to do. Just make sure it doesn't interfere with ours, and I'm sure you'll do just fine. Well, you've been here about an hour. It was only a matter of time. I take it was addressed to us and not you. More often than I'd like to admit, yes. It's bad enough that we can't even walk in the front door of our workplace without having objects hurled at us, but it's... But the people protesting are completely ignorant to what we actually do here. Sometimes I just want to roll my window up and shout down to them to get a job and start contributing to the country instead of ruining it. I'm sorry. He says he wasn't in the building. Well, I don't know how he'd be able to back up that claim. The police found him not too far away from here, that's true, but it was within walking distance. He could have easily got where he did in time, and there's a whole bunch of other evidence. I'm sorry, I just don't see how he thinks that's going to hold any weight. Like who? No, I don't think so. I think it's quite cut and dry. I can't imagine someone else over in the Meta Centre doing it. They like to sound like they know what they're doing, but most of them are incompetent. I know for a fact that some of them use their room number for their alarm code, for God's sake. Does that sound convincing to you? Alex was the only one who really knew what he was doing, and anyway, it's like I said, there was more evidence, wasn't there? Well, for example, the argument we had the night of the attack. Alex and I were having a heated discussion that night. I know that's somewhat anecdotal, but to me it's as good as gold in terms of evidence. Wouldn't you agree? Well, that's that then. If Alex was telling the truth, then wouldn't it be obvious? You see, that's the problem, isn't it? I understand that we need to take everyone's story into account, but there's an inherent risk with listening to the story of a desperate man. He'll say anything to try and escape justice, and people like you are duty-bound to listen to him. I don't know what I'd do if I spoke to him again. I don't think I'd be able to keep my cool. It must be an awkward position you're in, having to research such a terrible person. Well, maybe not professionally, but everyone has an opinion at the heart of it. Well, you're in a privileged position, being able to disconnect yourself from it all. I was sure the employees here were so lucky. Let's carry on, shall we? Is that what he said? That his keycard was stolen? Well, I don't think there's any way I could confirm or deny that for you, Mr. Miller. I'm not even sure what that would have to do with me. I don't believe it was stolen, so it would be futile for me to try and answer that. We were all responsible for our own key cards and security logins. Actual keys aren't used in this part of the building. It's all very cutting edge, so anything like that would have been solely down to Alex. That just seems like conjecture to me, Mr. Miller. It sounds far too convenient to say that he logged it as stolen on the day that it happened. If that's true, then where did he log it? At what time? Wouldn't security know about that? I'm sorry, but it's all a little too convenient for me. I wish I could do more. I really do, but unless you have a point, then I can't help you with that. I really don't understand that man's mind. He's hell-bent on dragging this company's name through the mud. Out of curiosity, what was his evidence? And I suppose I hid that from the police, did I? Well, like you said, there's no evidence at all. Thank you for your honesty, at least. Did I? Few things around here probably still use keys. It's outdated if you ask me. You won't find anything in the facility that uses them, though. Our security protocol won't allow them. But I think the older areas still have the old-fashioned key and lock. No. Marlon Thornton, the cleaner, he's the only person who uses them for stock rooms and locker rooms, you know. Oh, that reminds me. If you're over at the Meta Centre later, you should take a look at the old Victorian baths. They're going to be knocked down soon, so you should take a look there before you go. No? They're just quite nice. I tell you what, I'll ask Marlon to open them up for you later on. If he's got time, then they'll be open for you when you go and have your meeting with Chance Crow. Anyway, Excuse me, what? I didn't say anything about an alarm code. Oh, I'm sorry. I think I must have misspoken. Everyone in the Meta Centre is very careful with their security. I wouldn't... well, let's not dwell on that. No, it was another office. Can we please move on to a different subject, Mr. Miller? Don't you have something about my work that you'd like to ask at all? OK, Mr. Miller, that's all I've got time for, I'm afraid. Can you please see yourself out?
You know what? I reckon I'm gonna play that a lot today.
Hi, I'm home.
Because we don't want our hands tied by the law every time we have to make a decision. But we won't be long. Just remember one. The world is changing around us. I agree. I have no idea why you're still wearing the same clothes you were wearing in the 70s. I'm not going to change your mind on this, am I?
Molly, you'd better be in bed when I get up there.
Coop, will you talk some sense into your husband, please?
Well, I'm staying out of this one.
Right, on that note, I'll see myself out.
You and Carol still here for Sunday dinner?
Don't forget to pass that folder on to Sarah in the morning, okay?
Wouldn't miss it.
Well, Mr. Miller, thank you for being so respectful of the rules in our facility. You wouldn't believe the amount of people we have to tell to leave staff-only areas. Your next meeting is with Chance Crow very soon. Feel free to take a wander around in our gardens. I'll be waiting for you over in the Meta Centre when you're ready to begin.